let's go over what the star witness today, Don Hughes, the psychologist, has testified to thus far. Now, keep in mind, Don Hughes is a board certified clinical and forensic psychologist. She testified that she has not assessed any victims or witnesses in this case, nor has she interviewed anyone connected to the case. She says she is testifying as a blind expert who provides the jury with some information about domestic violence, rape, sexual assault, and traumatic stress. Hughes has testified that it is very common for victims to stay in abusive relationships and that perpetrators often use various abusive methods beyond just physical violence to make victims feel trapped. Sexual abuse, according to Hughes, is a very private harm which can make it difficult for a victim to seek help to leave an abusive relationship. They experience a tremendous amount of shame, humiliation, degradation, according to Hughes. She also states that it is common for victims to use substances to numb themselves. Abusive relationships often have love and kindness in them in addition to abuse. The psychologist explained that resources are necessary for a victim to leave the relationship, and when an abuser controls their general living expenses, it is harder for a victim to see a way out. It's uncommon for victims to talk about the abuse around the time that it occurs. Hughes is an experienced expert witness who has testified in cases including the 2022 defamation trial of Amber Heard and Johnny Depp and the criminal trials of NXIVM founder Keith Rainier and singer R. Kelly. She's being paid $600 an hour for her work and $6,000 a day for testimony in court, according to her testimony. Now, the court did adjourn for lunch, and they are back in the courtroom. And defense attorney Jonathan Bach asked Don Hughes to confirm that she has not gathered detailed information about the specific facts of the case. Hughes said that is correct and added, and I quote, "I am not rendering any opinions about a specific individual." When asked, Hughes said she'd heard there's someone named Cassie in the case. Batch confirmed the forensic psychologist didn't hear Cassie's testimony or review records about her drug use. The jury was asked to leave the courtroom for a few minutes. After attorneys spoke to Judge Aaron Subramaniam at the bench, the judge asked the jury to go into the jury room just for a few minutes. The defense team wants to ask the expert witness, Don Hughes, about a webinar presentation she gave in 2015 about preparing for court testimony. The prosecution said they don't believe the presentation shows any evidence of potential bias from her. Defense attorney Jonathan Batch said the webinar was training for battered women's advocates. Also, Jonathan Batch says that Don Hughes is someone who makes most of her money as a professional witness and comes to the stand with a certain perspective. He said it's very relevant to the defense, telling the court that expert witnesses are very dangerous because they come with an aura of authority. We will continue with more in part 2, linked in the comments. Part 2. Defense attorney Jonathan Batch said it's very relevant to the defense that telling the court that expert witnesses are very dangerous because they come in with an aura of authority. Assistant U.S. Attorney Maureen Comey said a document of bullet points from the presentation shouldn't be shown to the jury because it could be confusing and cause a sideshow. Judge Aaron Subramaniam said the document won't come in, but Botch can ask Hughes more about the training she gave. The document, now that I'm thinking of it, doesn't say really anything about anything. The jury returned to the courtroom, and with Judge Aaron Subramaniam having ruled that he can do so, defense attorney Jonathan Botch started asking Don Hughes about the training she gave to victim advocates who may need to testify in court. When asked, Hughes said she believes the group she was speaking with received a grant from the Department of Justice under the Violence Against Women's Act. She confirmed that she's never testified in the defense of a man accused of a sex crime. She said, and I quote, "I don't evaluate offenders." Oh. This is what we love to hear. Defense attorneys and prosecutors had a couple of lengthy sidebars over defense attorney Jonathan Batch's cross-examination of Don Hughes. Batch asked her about 6 meetings she had with prosecutors concerning her testimony, some of which have been since the trial started. Hughes has maintained that prosecutors have not discussed specifics of the case with her. Defense attorney Batch finished his cross-examination of Don Hughes, and then Assistant U.S. Attorney Mitzi Steiner began the redirect examination of Hughes. On redirect, Steiner confirmed with Hughes that the psychologist only evaluated court filings related to her testimony, and any filings she reviewed were redacted so that she couldn't read any facts of the case. Now, in a final question on redirect, Mitzi Steiner confirmed that the psychologist, Ms. Dawn Hughes, has been retained as an expert witness by one of Mr. Combs' defense attorneys in another case. On recross-examination, defense attorney Jonathan Batch confirmed that Hughes had worked with defense attorney Brian Steele in the past, but she didn't testify as a trial witness in Steele's case. But you just tried to discredit her. You know what? Let's just continue. That concluded her testimony. Currently on the stand is former assistant for Sean Diddy Combs, George Kaplan. Kaplan, a former executive assistant to Combs, has taken the stand. He is the 12th witness called by the prosecution. Kaplan had received a subpoena requiring him to testify. Earlier today, he invoked the Fifth Amendment right to not testify on the grounds of potential self-incrimination. But Judge Aaron Subramaniam indicated he was going to sign an immunity order that will require Kaplan to testify. Once more updates are available, I will bring them to you. And as always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section.